to put it all in the great sweep of history, let us start with Helen Rappaport, just a little over a century ago, at what they did not yet know was the end of the Age of Kings. 1910, and 9 monarchs assembled at Windsor Castle for the funeral of King Edward VII. So, Helen, it's great to have you with us. Let me begin with a photograph that you sent me earlier today, and which I have a vague recollection of having seen many years ago. But in fact, it is the only photograph of 9 kings, and they are all assembled for the funeral of Edward VII, little over a century ago, 1910, and that is our own King Emperor George V seated in the middle. Do you know who all the others are on that picture?
Well, Bulgaria,
Yeah,
Portugal,
yeah.
Germany.
I tell you what. Let's do it. I'll do
Denmark.
No, I'll
Norway.
do no. I'll do it in because we'll go from left to right. So that's the king seated in the front row. That's the King of Spain, George V, and the King of Denmark. And then in the back row, that's the King of Norway, the Tsar of Bulgaria, the King of Portugal, the German Kaiser, the King of Greece, and the King of the Belgians. And generally speaking, a century later, if you were interested in the posterity of your royal house, it would be better to be seated in the front row or on the wings of those standing, because the 4 guys all in the middle, their thrones are now history. Bulgaria, Portugal, Germany, and Greece. And the poor Greek king, who was the second longest reigning sovereign in Europe, apart from Queen Victoria, wound up getting assassinated just a couple of years after this photograph was taken. So we're really here on the monarchy at its apogee before the First World War called the whole business into question.
Well, it's interesting to see that it's the Scandinavian monarchs who seem to have endured: the Danes, the Norwegians, the Swedes, plus, of course, the Dutch and the Belgians. So the Northern European monarchies are all still hanging on. And there was a very, very close, of course, family relationship between them all, particularly the Danes, the Russians, and the Brits. So they seem to have hung on and have respectable monarchies, though whether they could lay on as grand a display on the death of their own monarchs as we are currently doing, it will be interesting to see.